Good morning everybody. השיעור יהיה לנשמת הנרצחים וההרוגים ולרפואתם השלמה של הפצועים ולחזרתם הביתה של החטופים ולהצלחתם של החיילים, חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל. Okay. פרשת ויחי is the parsha that ends the book of Bereshit. A very interesting parsha with the blessing that Yosef gives, that Yaakov gives to his children. And while we look at the parsha, we see a few very strange things. And one of the first things that we see is that Yaakov calls Joseph, and Joseph comes with his two sons, Ephraim and Menashe, and Yaakov is blessing them. And he's not doing it to any other grandchildren that he's got. So again, he's doing the same mistake and giving a special treatment to his beloved son Joseph. We remember what happened last time he did it, and he's doing it again. He's blessing only the children of Joseph and not the children of all his other children. Nevertheless, when we go on, we see another strange thing. Joseph comes with the two children. He wants his father to bless them, so he takes Menashe, which is the eldest, in the left hand, and the youngest, Ephraim, in the right hand. And why is he doing it? Because he's standing in front of Yaakov. So now Yaakov will put his right hand on the eldest, which is Menashe, and the left hand on Ephraim, which is the younger. But what is Yaakov doing? He's putting his hands like this, and he puts his right hand on Ephraim and the left hand of on Menashe. So, and then he blesses them, and then so Yosef thinks that his father did mistake, and it's very logical. Why? Because he is sure that maybe he has got problem with seeing things, and maybe what now Yosef is doing, he is bringing the oldest in his right hand and the younger in the left hand. So he is, because he's in front of him, so he is changing his hand so he will do it right. He didn't know that, so Joseph thought that maybe father doesn't know that I changed it already, so he has just to put it right hand on the oldest and the left hand because I already turned it. But when he says it's father, no, father, you're doing a mistake. He says, I know exactly what I'm doing. In other words, what he's telling him is, what you didn't learn yet, I already forgot. So you think I'm senile, you think I don't know what I'm doing, I know exactly what I'm doing. And what is he really doing? So here's a whole discussion and a lot of explanation about what's going on here. And one of the things is that Ephraim, he was for many years in Egypt, and Menashe, he was the oldest, so he already had still some from the atmosphere of the Yiddishkeit from his grandfather home, because he was the firstborn. So the atmosphere at home must be a little more, let's say, Jewish than when Ephraim was born a few years later. Then he was already inside the Egyptian community. And the influence, of course, it's worse. By the way, we see it also from the name. We'll see it in Sefer Shmot. We'll see that everybody that has a high position in Egyptian, he had at least a pay from the name of Pharaoh. For the fact Potiphar, which was the minister that Joseph was there, he's got two pays. And what did Pharaoh call Joseph? Tzofnat Pa'aneach, again, two paying. So how was Joseph able to use his name Yosef? Because in Yosef he's got the pay also. Now Menashe hasn't got any pay, but Ephraim is already got a pay, which is showing us that he's got already an Egyptian name. So again, this is why Father Yaakov thinks that he needs the blessing more than Menashe. And that's why we say we bless our children. We also put first Ephraim and then Menashe. And this brings us also to the reason why is he blessing them and not all the other grandchildren. The same reason. You see, all the other grandchildren grew up in the house of Yaakov. So they had the atmosphere of Yaakov Avinu. The Yiddishkeit, they had it there. But those two grandchildren, they grew up in the diaspora. They grew up in Egypt, in the impurity of Egypt, in the corruption of Egypt. So they need a special blessing. And how do we see that this is a blessing, a special blessing? He is blessing them. Look, this is something unbelievable how he's blessing them. 1 minute. Amalach HaGoel Oti, the angel that saved me, that rescued me for all evil, from all bad. Yevarech et Anarim, will bless the children and will call them my name, the name of my fathers, Avram and Yitzchak. V'yidgu larov bekerev haaretz, and they will multiply and v'yidgu like fishes on the land. What is this translation? What is v'yidgu larov bekerev haaretz? What's going on here? Normally the blessing would be like the sand, like the stars, as we saw all the other fathers blessing this way. So why is this strange blessing? Nevertheless, another question. Where do the fish multiply? Where? In the water, not on the land. And he's telling you, so what is he really saying? And that's all connected. As we say, he's blessing them because they were growing up, raised up in the impurity, in the corrupt Egyptian, and they maybe they need to fight this corrupted culture, and this is what he's telling them. Yes, fish live in the water. By the way, why is water? Water is Torah. And he's telling them, even if you will be exiled from a place of Torah, you will still have the power to multiply and to be fruitful, even though you are not in the place where you normally live and multiply and be, which is in the water. Even if you're out of the water, you will still will still multiply and be fruitful. And this is Ephraim. Ephraim is perot, is fruitful. And this is, again, this special blessing to give them the ability to deal with this, let's say, bad environment. And this is why, B'cha Yevarech Israel. This is why we bless our children on Erev Shabbos with this blessing. Because we want to give our children the power, not only to survive, but to multiply and to be fruitful and to be and go in the good way of the Torah, even if they are not in a place of Torah. If they're in other places all over the world, which we know all the Jews are spread out wherever you think there are Jews there. And this is also the fight that we have here, because here also we have that atmosphere of this culture that runs after joys and lust, and we need the special power of this blessing. So this is why he's blessing them with this special blessing. Ephraim and Menashe. And only them, because they need this blessing. And we are blessing our children with this great blessing, to give them the power to deal with life, to deal with, let's say, sometimes it's going to be a place with corruption, a place with no emunah, with no Torah, but there we'll still have the power to learn Torah, to go with the Torah, etc., etc., etc. What a beautiful thing to understand this blessing that we bless our children in Erev Shabbos. Also our grandchildren. And then I want to talk a little. There's a lot to talk about the Parsha, also with this deal of Ephraim and Menashe and what's going on and all the blessing that it's like a whole Jew. We have snakes in the blessing and donkey, which is Issachar, and lions and what not. And this is also something very interesting to know, that if you're already talking about it, see, the whole world was created for Am Yisrael, or for the human being to come and do the mitzvahs, and the leader of all this is Am Yisrael. We got the lead. We have to show the light to all the world. And this is why God created the world. So everything in this world was created for this purpose. And as we see in Sefer Bereshit, we started the book and we're ending it today, but in the first parsha already, we see God creating a world and destroying a world. And why is destroying the world? Because the human beings have been so corrupt that there is no reason for the existence of the world, because the whole world was created for the man to come and do the right things. And if you don't do the right things, and if the corruption is so bad, so God decided to destroy the world. In other words, God is telling us that every creature, everything that exists in this world that God created, everything, if it's a fly, if it's a spider, if it's a scorpion, if it's a lion, everything is for us. And this is something very hard to understand. This is why you see the blessing. Because the idea is not be a donkey, but behave like a donkey that is stubborn, and he is going with the weight he's got on his back even when he is resting. And this is what Issachar says. Issachar is the one who learns Torah in every condition. Doesn't matter what the condition is. He is not saying, oh, now I'm on holiday. Okay, I don't need to daven, I don't need to do anything. I'm on holiday. You know, it's like, my wife didn't like it. Every time we come on, I used to do it, I do it much less. We come on holiday to a hotel, and you want daven mincha, Mario, whatever. So you're looking in the lobby, and you see people with kippah on their hand. They says, "Won't you want mincha?" Or something. I already prayed. Sometimes they say, "You already prayed this morning." It's not. No, only now we can pray mincha. But never mind. I'm not going into it. And like once somebody told me, and this is the straight answer: I'm on holiday. What does it mean you're on holiday? What, you're on holiday from Kadosh Baruch Hu? No, you have to be. That's exactly the thing. We have to understand. It doesn't matter where we are, what situation we are. We are the children of God. This is the blessing of Yaakov Avinu, and this is what Issachar is telling us. And this blessing to Issachar, Chamor Garem Rovetz Ben HaMishpatayim. It doesn't matter where he is. He is always with the Torah. And then we get to another interesting point. Yaakov Avinu is calling all the children. Vayom Yaakov el Banav tells to his sons, Easfu, gather up together, and I will tell you what's going to happen in the end of days. And then he's blessing the children. So what's happening? You said that you're going to tell us what's going to happen in the end of days, and when the Geulah, when the Mashiach is going to come. So why didn't you do it? Rashi says he wanted to say it, but the Shekhinah went off because God didn't want him to reveal the secret when the Geulah is going to come. And there's a whole discussion in the Gemara about it, that you're not allowed to do the calculation. So why did Yaakov do the calculation? It's impossible. And the Zohar HaKadosh writes that if the Torah says that he wanted to tell them when the end of days is going to come, when the Geulah is going to come, and the Torah doesn't say that he didn't say it, so he said it. Maybe it's covered up in things in the inside of what he says, but it's there. So what is it? So one of the beautiful explanations is that we see that what he's really telling is, Easfu, gather together, ve'agida, aguda achat, to be one. Be one, be like aguda, like the lulav and the etrog and the arava, the be one aguda. Be one. Be together, be united. That's the power, and that's the power that's going to bring us the Geulah. And what is this to do with all this blessing? And by the way, this blessing, some of them don't look like blessing. When you look at the first one, for example, Reuven, Bechori ata kochi, you are my eldest, and you are my power. You are the first. Oh, this is nice. But then, Pachas kamayim al tota, you are hasty, and you did this and did this. Is this a blessing? Then Shimon and Levi, you are evil people. That's why the way it looks. You're jealous, and look what you do. What did you do with all those things that with your jealousy, with your Yehuda hears this. He goes back. He says, "Don't bless me. I don't need those blessings. This is not blessing." But then to Yehuda gets this great blessing. But time is short. I want to get to the point. The point is that the Torah tells us, when we go through all those blessings, that as we say, some of them don't look exactly like blessing, they look more like curse. Is it written in the end that the Torah makes sure, 1 minute, כל אלה שבטי ישראל. Those are all the tribes of Israel. 12. וזאת אשר דיבר, that's what their father talked to them. ויברך אותם, and he blessed them. Each one with his own blessing, he blessed them. In other words, whatever we read is blessing. So what is the blessing with Reuven and you and Shimon and Levi? What's the blessing there? What Yaakov is really telling us and telling his children, here I want to show you the tools that God gave you, the tools that you have. Your, let's say, statistics, your things that you use, that your talents, your abilities. So yes, you have to understand, like you've got this you're hasty, you do things quickly, you don't think so much. But use this in order to go in the right way. In other words, you can use all the tools that God gave you. There's nothing bad coming out from God. It's like certain things, characteristics that you've got, but you can use them for the best. And this is what one of the best blessing is, that your child, tell him what is his task in life. What are the tools that God gave him? How can he use them in the best way? And this is what Yaakov is telling each one of his children. See, this is your tools. This is your tools. This is your tools. Now take those tools and use them in the best way you can. Of course, if you choose wrong, you can do the worst things in the world. Like we see with Shimon and Levi. Levi is the tribe of the Kuna, the Leviim, the Kohanim, the high priests. And Shimon, unfortunately, we see him, Reuben Salu, what he's doing with the Midianite. This one is taking it up, and the other one is taking it down. For example, like we see it also with Moshe and Bilam. Moshe is taking the talent that he got from God, and he elevates himself up to God. Isha Elokim, the man of God. And Bilam and Rasha tell us, the Midrashim tell us he had the same abilities as Moshe Rabbeinu, the same talents, the same power he got. What is he doing with this? Going down to the worst place that can. So the Torah is telling us there are tools and we have to use them, because this is our task. This is the tools that we need to work with. And this brings us to this interesting point. What is this to do with the end of days, with the Geula? What Yaakov is telling us, each one of us has got different abilities and tools and characteristics. If each one of us will use his own abilities for all of Am Yisrael, as Agudah Echad, as one, then the Geula will come. For example, we see it now in the war. The cooperation between the Air Force and the Field Force and the intelligence. This is what is making this war functioning. This connection. Everybody puts what he knows in it. And that's the way to victory. So God is telling us, if we want Acharit Hayamim, if we want Geula, with all the things that surround us, we take the blessing of Yaakov Avinu to Ephraim and Menashe, and we take the blessing that he blesses its children, that each one of us got his own talent, his own ability, and put this all together for Am Yisrael. As we see now, this unity, this beautiful thing. But we should pray and we should go with this asfu, to gather together and be one. This is going to bring us the Geula. Bezrat Hashem. Amen.